All right, so I'm going to be going over how to apply your glaze to your ceramic pieces. So here I have my vase. You're gonna need your glazes as well as a brush, and you'll also need a sponge later. The first step that you have to do is fill out your glaze plans and check your glaze plans off with me to make sure that you've got the right amount of coats and all of those things. Then you need to go grab your glazes from the shelf. I'm doing midnight blue and lustrous jade as well as a soft green. As far as the glazes go, we have them in these pint sizes. We also have these large buckets. So if you're going to be using a large bucket, you need to also have a whisk, and you need to use the whisk to stir up the glaze within the large bucket. If you're using the pint sizes, you can shake them by hand. A couple things to keep in mind: make sure that you shake your glaze well or stir your glaze well. You let your glaze dry in between coats. You wash your tools in between. So if you're using a big bucket, you're going to want to wash your whisk after you're done or before you use it to mix up another color. And if you're using a brush, you're going to want to wash your brush after you're done using it. And then also make sure to not glaze the bottom of your piece or anywhere that will come in contact with the shelf. All right, so I'm ready to get my glaze colors ready. I'm going to be doing lustrous jade first, and then I'm going to put blue midnight over it. I have my glaze plans right up here on my computer. So I've got, it says blue midnight over lustrous jade will give me this effect over here. So I'm going to be doing blue midnight on top of lustrous jade. So lustrous jade goes first and then blue midnight. And I'm also going to be doing a layer of soft green around the rim. This is one of our drippy glazes, so you only can do it on the inside or along the top fourth of your piece. So I could only go to about there with this one. This relates to, or this is for the soft green, soft white, soft midnight, and also the indigo float is a drippy glaze as well. So you can only do indigo float on the top fourth. So I'm going to go ahead, shake up my glazes. When you go to shake, make sure you put your hand on top of the lid here, and then you can shake it up. Make sure this one's on tight. And you should be good to go. So per my glaze plans, I know that if I'm using two colors, I need to do 2 coats of my first color and 2 coats of my second color. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my first color, and I'm going to start with my 2 coats. So I'm going to take my brush, dip it in my glaze, and then I'm just going to paint on a generous layer of glaze all the way around my entire piece. I also need to go on the inside, so I'm going to go all the way around and then also on the inside of my piece. All right, so I just went all the way around the outside, and I need to give this time to dry before I do my next coat. So I'm going to go ahead and do the inside, but before I do that, I wanted to show you guys what wet glaze versus dry glaze looks like. So I've got my wet right here. You can see I just painted that. It's nice and glossy, whereas over here, it looks like it's already started to dry. So this is where I started. You want to make sure that the whole thing dries before you put on your next coat. So there's 1 coat on the outside. I'm going to do the inside and then let it dry. All right, so I've glazed the outside and the inside. The inside's still drying a little bit, but I'm ready to go ahead and put my second coat on for my vase here. So a good way to keep track of your coats is to apply the glaze in a different direction the second time. So I can see my brush strokes are horizontal, and just so that I don't lose track, because sometimes you'll leave your piece and then you might forget what layer you're on or what coat you're on. So in order for me to help to remember, I could either keep tallies, or you could just paint in a different direction, and then your brush strokes can tell you what layer you're on. So I'm going to go vertical this time, all the way around my piece. That way I know it's my second coat. It also helps you apply your glaze more evenly. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go all the way around vertically. I'm going to do the inside, and then I will be, all right, so I just applied my second coat to the outside and the inside. I'm going to let this dry completely, and then I'm going to repeat those steps with my blue midnight, because remember I wanted to do layers. So I'm doing 2 layers of the Lustrous Jade, 2 layers of the Blue Midnight. Same process, shake that up, glaze horizontally first, vertically second, let it dry in between, make sure you don't glaze the bottom. Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna let this dry and then I will come back. And if I was, sorry, I forgot one thing. If I was just doing Lustrous Jade or just one color, then I would just do a 3rd coat of my Lustrous Jade and then that would be my last coat. All right, I just went to the sink. I washed my brush so that I'm ready to use new color. Please don't cross-contaminate. Make sure you wash your brush in between every color. My piece is dry. I'm gonna go ahead and start with that horizontal layer all the way around and on the inside as well. All right, so I just finished applying my 2 coats of Blue Midnight. I'm going to go ahead and wash my brush and then apply my layer of soft green. All right, so since this is a drippy glaze, I'm going to be just applying it to the top 4th of my vase. I don't want to get it much lower than that because we don't want it to drip all over the shelves. So making sure that I'm only going around the top, and then you can put it all the way on the inside. The inside doesn't matter because it won't drip out of your piece once it's just on the inside. But I think I'll just do the inside rim. I could do the whole thing if I wanted to. I'm gonna let this dry and then come back and do one more coat. All right, so I finished applying that. While it's drying, I can go ahead and finish up the bottom. As you can see, I did not try to glaze the bottom, but you will get glaze on the bottom anyways. So all you have to do is take a damp sponge and just sponge that off. And then since our glazes are kind of unpredictable sometimes, especially when they're layered, I don't want this to run, and I have my glaze all the way to the bottom, but what I'm just gonna do is take my sponge and just kind of thin out the glaze that's towards the bottom there. So that is less thick towards the bottom. Hopefully that'll stop it from running onto the shelves. Making sure my bottom's really clean. And then I'm good to set this on the glazeware cart. So once you've completely finished your glazing and it's ready to go into the kiln, you can take your piece and set it onto the glazeware cart. Do not put your piece on this cart if you still need to add layers to it. Only put it on this cart if the bottom is sponged and you're done with all of your layers. If your piece is on here, what I will do is check the bottom, make sure it's wiped off enough, and then I will put it into the kiln. So I can't tell how many coats you've put on, so make sure you only put it over here if you have all of your layers done.